12 days into Operation Epic Fury, the United States and Israel have already struck nearly 200 targets deep inside Iran. Ballistic missile launch rates have collapsed by IRGC. Iran's navy has been decimated. Its air defense network has been severely degraded. But there is one problem that airstrikes alone cannot solve, and it may be the most dangerous problem of the entire war: Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium. According to reporting from Axios, The Guardian, Fortune, and multiple other outlets, the Trump administration is now actively weighing what analysts are already calling, and this is a direct quote from military experts speaking to Stars and Stripes, the mother of all commando raids, special operations forces going into Iran on the ground, under fire, to physically locate, secure, and extract nuclear material that, in the wrong hands, could eventually become a weapon capable of killing hundreds of thousands of people. This is what that mission would look like. And according to sources, it may no longer be a question of if but when. When Operation Epic Fury began on February 28, the U.S. and Israeli air campaign targeted air enrichment facilities directly. According to analysis from the Center for Strategic and International Studies, the strikes decimated Iran's enrichment facilities at Fordow and Natanz, two of the most significant nuclear sites in the country, and destroyed Iran's metallurgy facilities at Isfahan. Those strikes dealt a serious blow to Iran's ability to continue enriching uranium going forward. But destroying the facilities is not the same as accounting for the material that was already inside them. Highly enriched uranium does not disappear when a building is bombed. It can be moved. It can be hidden. It can be transferred to locations that are not on any target list, and that is precisely the problem that U.S. and Israeli intelligence officials have been wrestling with since the first bombs fell on February 28. Where is the uranium now? How much of it was moved before the strikes? Who has it? And where is it going? According to reporting from the war zone, the uncertainty around missing nuclear material is what has pushed the Special Forces option from theoretical planning to active consideration at the highest levels of the Pentagon. Former government sources and military experts told CIMA that elite units have long prepared contingency plans for exactly this kind of mission, and that those plans are now reportedly being dusted off and reviewed in detail. The Economist, in a report published March 11, estimated that executing such a mission at minimum would require approximately one. Designed Zorro troops to hold a perimeter around a nuclear complex with constant air cover overhead. That is not a small raid. That is a full-scale ground operation. The largest and most dangerous commando mission the United States has attempted since the Bin Laden raid in 2011. Except this one would be happening inside a country with which the U.S. is already at war, against an adversary that is still capable of fighting back. Any special forces insertion into Iran requires one thing above all else: air superiority over the target area. Not partial air superiority, total air superiority. By helicopter carrying Delta Force operators, or SEAL Team 6, cannot fly into Iranian airspace with active radar-guided surface to air missile systems still operational. The electronic warfare component of the mission would have to go first, and it would have to be thorough. That is where the EA-18G Growler comes in. According to Air and Space Forces magazine, both carrier strike groups operating in the theater have EA-18G Growlers embarked in, according to Global Security Org. The EA-18G contingent across the carriers provided 15 jamming aircraft capable of supporting simultaneous multiple strike packages. The Growler is built on the same airframe as the FA-18F Super Hornet, but carries no air-to air missiles and no bombs. Instead, its wing pylons are loaded with ALQ-218 wideband receivers and ALQ-99 tactical jamming pods. Its entire purpose is to find, identify, and electronically destroy enemy radar emissions. When an EA-18G enters the threat environment, it begins cataloging every radar signal in the area. It identifies the frequency, the pulse rate, the location. It then transmits a precisely calibrated jamming signal on that same frequency, blinding the radar receiver completely. According to a source cited by United Against Nuclear Iran, within the first 24 hours of Operation Epic Fury, U.S. and Israeli forces destroyed approximately 80% of Iran's air defense systems. The EA-18G Growlers were reportedly central to that achievement. 15 jamming aircraft operating simultaneously across multiple English corridors. Paired with a GM-80 or MNT- radiation missiles fired by accompanying FA-18 seconds, systematically hunted down every active radar emitter in the target zones. When a radar turned on to try to track incoming aircraft, the HA-RM detected the emission, locked on, and flew directly down the radar beam to the antenna. The radar operators had the choices: turn off the system and survive, or keep it on and take the hit. Many chose to turn it off. The ones that did not were destroyed. After 12 days of sustained operations, Iran's air defense network over the western and southern portions of the country is reported to be severely degraded. That degradation is what makes the Special Forces insertion theoretically executable. Not easy, not low-minus risk, but executable. According to analysts and former special operations planners speaking to multiple outlets, a raid to secure Iran's enriched uranium stockpile would be unlike any commando mission in recent American history. The scale of the risk and the complexity all exceed anything that has been attempted since the Cold War era planning for similar contingencies. The operation would likely begin with a final, intensive suppression package A-18G Growlers clearing the electronic environment along the English corridor, MH-60 Black Hawks and MH-47G Chinooks from the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment the laden raid. They are modified for long-range, low-altitude, nap-Earth flight, equipped with terrain-following radar, forward-looking infrared sensors, and radar-jamming systems of their own. They fly at night. They fly low, and they are very hard to detect. The assault teams themselves would most likely consist of operators from the 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta Force, augmented by technical specialists, nuclear material experts capable of identifying, assessing, and safely packaging highly enriched uranium for transport. The Economist noted that the mission would also likely involve International Atomic Energy Agency personnel or nuclear security specialists who could verify the material and establish a proper chain of custody once it was secured. The perimeter forced the approximately 1,000 troops that military analysts estimate would be needed would have to establish control of the surrounding area fast enough to hold off any Iranian response force while the technical team completed its work inside the facility. The core argument for the raid comes down to one uncomfortable reality. Nobody fully knows where all of Iran's enriched uranium is right now. Iran had been enriching uranium to 60% purity, close to weapons minus grade, at Fordow and Natanz before the strikes began. The III had been monitoring those sites, but access was limited. When the strikes hit, the monitoring stopped. Some of the material was likely destroyed or rendered unusable by the bombing, but some of it may have been moved before the strikes or dispersed to secondary locations in the chaos that followed. Highly enriched uranium in uncontrolled hands is one of the most dangerous scenarios in modern warfare. It does not need to be weaponized by a state actor to be catastrophic. It needs to reach the wrong people. A non-state actor with access to sufficient quantities of weapons grade uranium and the technical knowledge to assemble a crude device what nuclear security experts call an improvised nuclear device represents a threat that no amount of additional airstrikes can neutralize. That is what is reportedly being weighed in Washington right now. The decision has not been made. No order has been issued, but the planning, according to multiple sources, and the clock is ticking. Every day that passes is another day the material could move further from where it was, further from any known location, and closer to a scenario that Operation Epic Fury was designed to prevent from the very beginning. Operation Epic Fury has achieved results that few predicted in such a short time frame. Iran's ballistic missile rate is down 96%. Over 3,000 targets have been struck across 30 of Iran's 31 provinces. The Navy is largely destroyed. The air defense network is severely degraded. By almost every conventional military metric, the operation has been a significant success. But the uranium question hangs over everything. It is the one variable that air power alone cannot resolve. And it is the variable that, if left unresolved, could define the legacy of this entire war, not by what was destroyed, but by what was not secured. The planners in Washington know this. The special operations community knows this. And according to reporting from Axios, The Guardian, The Economist, on Stars and Stripes, the conversation about what comes next is already well underway. The raids that ended Osama bin Laden, the raids that took down Al-Baghdadi. If the order comes, the Night Stalkers will fly again, and this time the stakes are higher than they have ever been.